Guys, all the cars that you see in these videos are for sale on my website, www.woodsandbarclay.com. Enjoy the video. Hey everyone, welcome back to the series on the 1996 diesel Land Cruiser. I'm calling this vehicle the Beast. Today we're going to go ahead, get it up on the lift, and we're going to change all of the fluids and all of the filters on the vehicle. So let's go ahead and get started. Now guys, when you're lifting one of these on a two-post lift, it can be a little tricky. You need to make sure you put your lift arms in the correct place. Otherwise, these can be unstable on a two-post lift. So once we get it up, I'll go ahead and show you where I put my lift arms. All right guys, we got her lifted up here on the two-post. Can't get it quite as high as I want because I only have 12-foot ceilings and this is a pretty tall vehicle. But what we'll do, we'll go in here and first here's our drain plug for the diff, drain plug, fill plug. So we're gonna drain this oil, and we got a drain plug here for the transfer case. We're gonna drain that. And right up here on the transmission, there's our drain plug there. And what else we got under here? The power steering fluid, I'll flush that. And we already did the radiator when I was changing the water pump, and I put in Toyota red coolant. And then we'll check the brake fluid and see if that needs to be flushed out. So first, let's just get started with the engine oil, which is right here. All right guys, your drain plug on these old Land Cruisers is a 14 millimeter. There we go. And we also need to replace the crush washer. I'll show you that in a minute. Let's just go ahead and get this draining. All right guys, of course for the oil filter, we got a genuine Toyota filter. There we go, brand new out of the box. But here's those little gaskets I was showing you. And here's our drain plug. Let me show you. Here's your part number. But they're like little, let me pull one out and I'll show you. There we go, there's our old one. And they're like little, it's almost like a aluminum crush washer, but it has like some blue like felt around it. A little different than Mercedes. Your typical Mercedes is just a copper. For example, you know, there's a copper crush washer there. Toyota does it a little different, but it's important that you replace these because it keeps a good seal. So let's go ahead and put that back on here. Then we'll lower down, we'll get our fresh filter on. All right, there we go. We got all that oil out of there, so wipe her off and put our plug back in. And then let's go ahead and refill this baby. Let me tighten that down. And guys, while I was lowering it down, I just wanted to look in here and look at the beautiful condition. Still have our bump stop here is beautiful condition. There's the shock. You can even see the original paint marking right there on your pitman arm. And yeah, look at the boots. All these boots are beautiful condition. This truck is just remarkable. Let's go ahead and get it lowered down. Yeah, look over here. Look at the sway bar bushing right there. I mean, that thing, it looks 100%. Awesome condition. All right, let's go ahead and finish lowering it down and get that oil filter on. All right, guys, your oil filter is right there. And I like to use one of these, you know, it's just like a strap here you can put around it. And I got an extension on it. We can stick it down there and we can spin that guy off. All right, we can just get our strap down here. There we go, around the filter. There we go. We got it loose. All right, then we pull that guy off. We can get the rest of it off by hand. We're just spinning this guy off of here. You'll spill a little oil, drip a little oil. You can just clean it up with a rag, guys. Not a big deal. Oh, get out of there. All right, let's get our new oil filter on here. This is pretty cool. I've actually never seen this except on Toyota. There's a plastic cover on here, and they put grease underneath that plastic cover. So Toyota pre-greases your seal here for the oil filter. Pretty awesome. No other manufacturer. I haven't seen that on another manufacturer. All right, let's screw this thing back on. All right, guys, just because I'm a little OCD, I like to go down here and wipe off the mating surface. There we go. All right, guys, we stick our filter back down in here. And, you know, just like any oil filter, you put them on nice and hand tight plus a turn, you know what I mean? So let me get that. I'll be back in a second. All right, there we go. Nice new filter in there. Now let's go ahead and fill it up with oil. Guys, after I get it topped off, what we're going to do next is change our main fuel filter. And there's the main fuel filter, and I just got one from Toyota, so we'll go ahead and do that next. In the meantime, let's go ahead and fill her up here. Guys, real quick, the oil I've started using is made by Lubrication Engineers. It's Monolec engine oil. Monolec is their additives package. This is an old school dinosaur oil with a synthetic additive package, but it's specifically for diesel engines, 15W40. And guys, I use this stuff in my race car. I used it in my race car manual transmission. They have manual transmission fluid, and it's outstanding oil. So I've started using this in all the Land Cruisers, in the diesel Mercedes, and my diesel F-250. It's excellent oil. And guys, I don't make any money from this at all. I'm just telling you what I like to use. And I'm going to flash Clay's information up on the screen. And if you contact Clay, you get a discount if you mention Woods and Barclay. And Clay can ship you some directly or tell you where to buy it locally. Anyway, Lubrication Engineers, Monolec diesel engine oil, 15W40. That's what we're using. Let's go ahead and get this thing filled up. Okay, we'll crank it up, let it circulate, then let it settle for 10 minutes, and then check our dipstick, and we'll top it off. So I'll be back when I'm done. Then let's move to the fuel filter. All right, guys, what we're going to do next, we've got the oil topped off. That's all done. I want to go ahead and change the fuel filter, and then I can put a date on it so I know when everything's been changed. But so Toyota actually recommends removing the entire assembly, disconnecting your lines, pulling this out and removing it on the bench. However, what I'm going to do is underneath here, I'm not sure if you can see it on the bottom, I think that's like a water sensor down there on the bottom. I'm just going to go ahead and unplug that. I think I almost got it here. There we go. All right, that's unplugged. Now what that will allow me to do is put a strap around it so I can then loosen it. So let me go ahead and get that. And just so you see where this is located, guys, it's right over here on the driver's side inner fender, right in front of your brake booster. That's your fuel filter. So I'm going to take this like a strap wrench. Here we go. And we're going to slide it down underneath here. Since we got that disconnected, that plug, there you go, there's a plug that can go through there. There we go. And there we go. We can get our strap wrench around the filter. There we go, just like that. Now I can get leverage to, there we go, see how it's loosening? Then we can get it off by hand. Once we get it loosened enough. These are great, guys. If you don't have one, you need to get one. 77-3529. That's the part number. I'm not sure who the manufacturer is, but you can get those at your auto parts store. And now we can get this thing off of here because it's loose. Now you have to clean up some spillage that you're going to get from the diesel, but that's okay. Just clean it up with a rag. Actually, I'm going to put a rag down here before I start. And there we go. We have our fuel filter. Now we're going to snake this out the side. There we go. All right, guys, here we are over at the vise, and this is the fuel filter. Now, this is the underside of the filter, and what this is a, I think it's a water sensor, and we just need to unscrew this. There is a special tool, but you can do it with some channel locks. There we go, and it just screws into the bottom, so we're going to remove this. And guys, don't go crazy and grip too hard. It is plastic, so you don't want to break anything. Just pay attention to what you're doing. And there you go. You can screw this out. And we want to transfer this to our new fuel filter. And there should be an O-ring in here. Yeah, see that O-ring right there? We're going to replace this O-ring with a new O-ring that comes in our new fuel filter. All right, let's go over to our new one. All right, guys, here we are on the bench. Here's our genuine Toyota filter. Here it is right here. You can see there's a big hole in the bottom. Well, they give you, here's the O-ring. Here's the old one that we pulled off of our water sensor. So we want to put this O-ring back on here, like so. And also, I want to put a little diesel on here before I put it in there. There we go. We're actually not going to put diesel. We're just going to put a little motor oil on there. I like to put a little lubrication on my O-rings before I install them in anything. There we go. Put that around there like that. And then, guys, this just screws right back in here, like so. And guys, you don't need to crank it down. The O-ring does all of your sealing. So we're just going to snug it up there. And I'm going to get my channel locks. All right, that's it, guys. That's good. Now, before we put this back in the car, we want to go ahead, let's prime it. We're going to fill it up with diesel, and that way it's easier to prime the system and you don't get a lot of air in your system when you reinstall this. So, all right, that's probably about halfway or so, but I'm out of diesel, so we'll use the hand primer to get it the rest of the way. All right, now, just because we got an O-ring, I'm just going to put a little bit of oil right there. We're just going to lubricate the O-ring, and there we go. Let's go install this back on the vehicle. Get right down under there. Beautiful. And guys, what a lot of amateur mechanics do is crank these things down. You don't need to crank it down super tight. We're just going to do a snug turn on it because your O-ring does all of the sealing. Okay, now it's kind of like a oil filter. We just want to snug it up by hand. All right, so let me get down here, dry it off a little bit. There you go. There we go. Guys, that's not going anywhere. Don't go crazy tightening that down. Now let's go ahead and plug in our water sensor. Okay, good. Everything's back together. Now, here's your primer. We're going to prime the system. Oh, there it goes. When it starts to get hard, you know it's full. Okay, I think that's it right there. All right, let's go fire it up. Make sure we don't have any air bubbles in the system. By the way, you saw in the previous video where I changed the timing belt and I wrote down the mileage. It was done on March 17th at 125,000, let's see, 125,000 kilometers. Now, I'm also doing, in this video, we did the fuel filter, and we're going to go under the car, do the transfer case, the differentials, all that. But you're going to know it was all done just shortly after I did the timing belt. And of course, you'll have the service records I send with the vehicle, and you'll have all these videos too. So, all right, let me start her up. All right, there we have it. We primed the system, got the fuel filter change, obviously no air in the system. Now let's go ahead and get the car back up on the lift. We're going to do the front diff, the transfer case, and the rear diff. All right, guys, we're going to go in under the vehicle. We're going to start with the front differential. We're going to go ahead and drain it and refill it. And also notice the Land Cruiser, the way you mount the jacks, there you go. See, the lift arms, they go on these 2 points right here. Basically the front suspension pickup points. I put a screw jack on the front and the rear, and that's just, you know, for extra safety when it's on the lift. But anyway, let's go ahead and start with this front differential. And guys, you're going to want to use a 24, number 24 socket, 24 millimeter, but it's important to use a 6-point socket and not a 12-point socket. 12-point won't work correctly on these. So First thing we want to do is get out our fill plug, and already cracked it loose a second ago. So you always want to take your fill plug out first, just in case you can't get the drain plug out here. So let's take a look, see if any oil comes out, and see what the condition is. Oh, that looks fantastic. That is a golden brown color. Let me see if I can catch some of that for you guys. Yeah, there is absolutely no contamination in this oil from the burr-filled joints. That means our axle seals are not leaking. And we can see if I can show you guys this. See how it's a golden brown color? It's oil color. And what that means is that the burr-filled joints are right here. And there's an axle seal like right in that area. And that axle seal keeps the moly grease from the burr-filled joint from mixing with the differential fluid. And we can see that that fluid is extremely clean. It is golden brown, and there's been no mixing at all. And that tells us the axle seals are excellent condition. So that's good. All right, I'm going to go ahead and pop out the drain plug now. There we go. Yes, very clean, no mixing of the moly grease from the burr-fields. Like I said, golden brown. So that's great, great news. Okay, here we have our drain plug, and we're going to go ahead and clean that off. There you go, very clean. Now, it's also important that you change the crush washer. See, this is our old crush washer. That's what does the sealing. We want to get a new crush washer, put it on this one and on the fill plug. So we'll get those, put them on, and then let's get these back in the car, or at least the drain plug, and then let's go ahead and start refilling. All right, let's go ahead. We got our new crush washer, and we'll dry that off a little. Let's put our drain plug back in, and we'll go ahead and snug that up. And then you want to refill it, and we're going to use 75W90. That's what's specified by Toyota. And it takes like 2.75, something like that. You basically fill it till it comes out of the fill hole right here. And I think that's something like 2.75 liters. There we go. We just snug that up. You don't have to go crazy. The crush washer does the sealing. Just do it until you feel that crush washer crush. All right, let's go ahead, fill this up. And here's the stuff Toyota recommends. Here's gear oil, 75W90. This is synthetic. And basically the transfer case, the front diff, the rear diff, and the transmission all use the exact same stuff. And so I just get 3 jugs. I got another one over there because it's around 10 liters or so that you need to refill everything, replace all the fluids. So the way I do this, the easiest way is I have some smaller containers. Here you go. These are just some random smaller containers I have with the little hand pumps on them. So I just fill these up with the fresh fluid, and that makes it easier to get in there. So let's go ahead. We'll fill this up and pump this oil back in here. It's just easier to hold these small containers because it takes. All right, guys, this is just gonna take a few minutes. We got to pump all this in there by hand. Sometimes you can get, an electric pump or something like that, but this is how I've always done it. So this is going to take me a couple of minutes. I will come back when it's starting to come out of the fill hole. That's when we know it's full, and we'll put our fill cap back on there. There we go. We are pretty much full now, guys. See it running out of there? Let's just make sure. Yeah, that's it. That's about 2.75 right there. All right, so let's take our cap, put it in there. There we go with our new crush washer. And here we go. All right, let me torque that down, and we are done servicing the front differential. All right, there we go. We are done. Let's go ahead and move to the transfer case. All right, guys, let's go under here in the middle of the truck. And And there's our transfer case. And we can see right here is our drain plug and the fill plug, same as the differential. Those are 24 millimeter. So let's go ahead and make sure we can get our fill plug off of here. There we go. Take that guy out, and they also have crush washers on them. Now, guys, you can actually flip your crush washers over and reuse them if you don't have one, but it's always good to go ahead and change them. And I'm dripping some oil right here. This is the like skid plate or protective plate underneath it, and it's just gonna come out of there. But let's go ahead and get the drain plug off here. And I'll wipe up that oil there, not a big deal. All right, there, oh wow, that looks excellent. This looks like it was recently serviced. That is a beautiful golden brown. Anyway, we're just getting a baseline. I'm servicing everything so we know exactly when the mileage was for everything. So let me let this drain. I'll set our plugs up here. Let me wipe off some of that oil there. And we'll go ahead and also fill this with the 75 W90 synthetic. All right, guys, now unlike the differential, this transfer case is an aluminum housing. And when we put our new crush washer and drain plug back in here, we don't want to over torque this. So I've got my torque wrench out, and we're going to torque it to 27 foot-pounds. Get it snugged up there. There we go, 27 foot-pounds, guys. Don't over torque that or you'll crack your transfer case. All right, let's go ahead and fill it up. It's just like the diff. I think this takes around 1.4 liters, but you basically fill it until it comes out of the fill hole. So this is going to take a minute, but it's about one of these cans and then, or one of these jugs and then like a quarter of another one. So I'll be back in a second when it starts to come out of the fill hole. All right, we're on our second bottle. When it starts to come out, we're going to go ahead and put in our fill plug there. All right, there we go. See it starting to drip out there? All right, we're full. We'll pull this out, put in our fill plug, and there we go. And this is going to go to 27 foot-pounds. That's it, guys. Not very much. All right, we are done servicing the transfer case. All right, I'm going to go ahead, knock out the rear diff. I'll show you guys that in a second. And then we're going to do the transmission fluid. There you go. Look how clean that oil is. That has absolutely been serviced in the last 40,000 miles. Anyway, like I said, we're just doing a baseline right now. So I'm going to go ahead, fill this back up off camera, and then we're going to move to the manual transmission. All right, guys, we're done with the rear diff. Got the plugs back in. And guys, I just want to reiterate how beautiful it is under here. I mean, take a look at that. That is, you know, from 1996, and it looks this good. Just amazing condition. Anyway, let's go ahead up here now, and we want to do the fluid for the transmission. And we can see our drain plug is right here. So we got to get our drain plug out. But the fill plug is actually located under the cover plate here. It's like right there. So we're going to go ahead and drop this plate so we can get access to the fill plug. All right, taking this off is pretty easy. It's just a 12 millimeter. And we just take off these, I think there's 4 of them. Yeah. And there we go. That easily just comes right off of there. And guys, look at this. It even has all of the original insulation is still under here in excellent condition. Pretty awesome. But if we look up here now, we have full access to our beautiful manual transmission. And there we go. There is our fill plug right now. So let's go ahead, crack both of those loose and get some new fluid pumped into there. Okay, also there's one more item before we service that transmission. Here's my grease gun. And the beautiful thing about these Land Cruisers, you can see there's a Zerk fitting right here. So I went ahead and re-greased the slip yoke right here. Also, there's a Zerk fitting right here where you can grease your U-joints. So I went ahead and did that there. And see the Zerk fitting there. I went ahead and did it there. And there's also a Zerk fitting right there and on the rear. I went ahead and re-greased our U-joints. And now let's go ahead and crack these loose and drain the transmission. It's all the same fluid for the diffs, the transfer case, the manual transmission. It's all the same 75W90. Now to get in here on this one, you kind of got to make sure you have a small socket, because that is a it's kind of a tight fit right there to the drive shaft, the front drive shaft, but we're able to get that off. And guys, I think this has already been changed because that crush washer looks brand new. Let me go ahead and see the condition of the fluid here. Yeah, that's a new crush washer. Oh my God, yeah, that's new fluid. Wow, so this thing was being serviced obviously on the regular. Yeah, and that's a brand new crush washer. Not sure if you guys can see that. But like I said, we're doing a baseline, so I know 100% the status of all the fluids in the vehicles because I didn't have a service record for that. But it's blatantly obvious. Yeah, see how golden brown that is, guys? That's fresh fluid for sure. And we can see, yeah, the crush washer on the fill plug is also new. All right, let me let this drain out and we'll get some 75W90 pump back in here. Just wanted to show you guys the condition of that fluid. Look at that. That is, I'm sure that was changed in the last 10, 20,000 miles or so. But we're doing it anyway. Yeah, you can see how fresh it is. There's a good shot. And I think this one takes somewhere around 2.6 liters. But you basically fill it until it comes out of the fill hole. There we go. We're just going to have to hold this one. All right, I'll be back once I have this filled up, guys. It's going to take me a minute. All right, we've already put 2 of these bottles in. Now it should take about a little over half of this bottle to go ahead and finish filling it up. And like I said, you just watch till it comes out of the fill hole, guys, which is right around 2.6 liters. Oh, look at that. Right there. 2.6 liters. You can see it started to come out there. All right, let me torque that down and we're done with the manual transmission fluid change. There we go, 27 foot-pounds, doesn't take much. And I like to just store them by hand, makes it a little easier. Not sure if you guys can see what I'm doing, but just putting the screws back up here. And guys, you don't torque these down very much. I have my impact put on the lowest setting, so you just bump it. And that's it. We are done. And guys, I was talking about the Zerk fittings earlier. I left one of these ungreased. And just to show you how to do it, there's one, this is the rear slip yoke. You just put your fitting on there and you squirt 3 or 4. I pumped about 8 or 9 in there. Good grease. And this squirts grease in here in the slip yoke. And I've already done the U-joints at all 4 points. All right, so I have all these center caps. You can see they're all removed from the original wheels. I have them in the floorboard. But we want to go ahead and pop off the wheels and tires now just to do a quick brake inspection. And then after that, we're going to go ahead, flush the brake fluid. And guys, you just use your standard .3 or .4 brake fluid. You don't have to get any fancy kind. This is just CarQuest from local Advance Auto. Now, for the power steering fluid, you're going to want to use Dex Merc, and you want to use Dexron 3. I'm not sure if you guys can see that. Right there by my thumb, Dexron 3. And these vehicles can use Dexron 2 or Dexron 3. And I've already changed the coolant. I did that when we were changing the water pump in one of the previous videos. But this is the Toyota red stuff. That's what you want to use. And I had some non-diluted right here, so I mixed it with distilled water, and that's already been changed. So we'll go ahead and knock those out next after we do a full brake inspection. And guys, these are 21 millimeter plug bolts. Oh yeah, these rotors have been changed. Absolutely, there's no lip on here. These are fresh rotors. Wow, look how clean it is in here. Let me get the camera up here. Look how remarkably clean it is up here. And you can clearly see there's no lip on the rotor. Let me go ahead and check the brake pads. Okay, yeah. Look at that. Look how thick the brake pad is. These brake pads have even been done. I would say we have like 80% life left on these. Yeah, that's awesome. No need to do the brake pads or the rotors up here. That has already been addressed. Let's go ahead and check the back of the car. Now, one thing I noticed before we go to the back of the car, I was going to pop off the grease cap and check the wheel bearings, see if they've been greased. But it's very obvious. I can see right here, see that little flange has a little bent mark right there? That's where they knocked off these grease caps or dust caps when they were last servicing the vehicle. So that has actually already been off. So I'm not going to waste time doing that. It's obvious this has already been serviced. And just a quick look up here. Guys, look how beautiful that is in there. It's like this never saw dirt a day in its life. And this, I haven't, detailed in here or anything. Of course, it's going to go to Scott to be professionally detailed. You know, the exterior is going to be buffed and polished and the wheel wells cleaned up. And yeah, there's a little dirt up in there. We'll get all that out of here. But yeah, all the original suspension and everything just looks absolutely fantastic. All right, enough of that. Let's go to the back of the car and check these brakes out. Also, I should point out, these are brand new Yokohama tires. They have about 3,500 miles on them. The gentleman I purchased the vehicle from had these mounted. All right, let's check these rear. Wow, those are new pads. There's not even any brake dust on them. I can see where it says Toyota right there. Wow, these have been changed too. Just beautiful condition. All right, let me get the camera up here for you guys. Yeah, check that out. Look how clean this is in here. You can still see Toyota written on the brake pad. And, oh yeah, those are, you see the brake pad right there? Those are like, I would say near 100%. Those must have been recently replaced, just like the fronts. Anyway, absolutely beautiful condition. And again, Scott's going to detail up in here. We'll pressure wash and clean in here in the wheel wells, but just wanted you guys to see how beautiful condition all this is. All right, let me go ahead and get this wheel back on here, and let's get her lowered down. All right, guys, of course, when you get your wheels back on, you make sure you want to torque everything. All right, let me get the rear wheel, and we also want to put our center cap back on. Let's see here. There we go. All right, let me go knock out the rear, and then we'll start on the fluids and filter in the engine compartment. Okay, so these are brand new Bosch batteries. They were installed by the previous owner, the gentleman I purchased it from. So the batteries are good. Let's go in here. Let's check and see if the air filter has been changed. There we go. Oh, yeah. That is a new air filter. You can see it right there. Okay, that's already been done. We clearly do not need to change the air filter. So we'll just slip this back on. All right, let's check our power steering fluid. Pretty sure this was already done, but we're going to take a look. Oh yeah, that fluid is bright red. Obvious that that was already done. So that already has fresh power steering fluid in there. Let's go ahead and check our brake fluid. Now the rear pads were done, so I wonder if they also did a fluid flush. I'm just going to get a sample of this brake fluid and check it out. Okay, I want to go ahead and change the brake fluid. We can see that it is dark. So what I'm going to do, I'm going to go ahead, I'm going to suck it all the way out of the reservoir and then refill it with fresh fluid and then bleed that fluid through the system. So that's going to take a minute. I will be back when I'm done. All right, guys, off camera, we hooked up this tube to all our bleeders, and we just let it gravity bleed to get that old nasty brake fluid out of there. And then I just sucked this out, what was left in the reservoir, and we're going to go ahead and fill it back up, bleed the brakes, and we'll be done with that. All right, guys, you can see our master cylinder is empty there. Let's go ahead and fill it back up. And you want to be careful with this brake fluid. It's highly corrosive. You don't want to get it on anything. The way these fill up, they have a small reservoir on the back and then a large reservoir on the front. You can see the fluid filling up right here. It'll fill up in the back first, then spill over and fill up the front. And despite the fluid being brand new and clean, when you look at it through the reservoir, it makes it look like this greenish color. We're going to go ahead and go up right below the max line. All right, I'll go ahead, bleed the brakes, and we are done. All right, just got our cap back on there, all done with the brakes. All right, guys, that's it. Every single fluid and filter has been changed on this vehicle. So it is good to go for the next service interval. Hope you enjoyed this video. In the next video, we're going to be over at the detailing shop, and you're going to see Scott detailing the exterior, buffing and polishing, and the interior. And then this thing should be ready for the final walk around. So hope you guys enjoyed it. We'll see you next time.